Apollo 11 was a big achievement for humanity. Or rather, it was a massive achievement. A real humongous achievement. It's rumored that during the Apollo 11 missions to bring man to the moon, the designers at NASA were tasked with creating urinary receptacles for the astronauts. These receptacles were essentially glorified condoms, designed to catch the urine in zero-gravity environments. However, the designers encountered an unexpected problem. They gave their astronauts a choice of small, medium, or large sleeves to fit around their members. But nobody would select either of the first two choices. They would all choose the largest size, so they kept slipping off. To fix this issue, the organization came up with a brilliant idea. The designs stayed the same, but they were renamed Large, Gigantic, and Humongous instead. So that's why Starbucks Small is named Tall. Duck size has always been a relatively difficult topic to discuss, because we all kinda want bigger ones, right? Secretly, no matter how big your man is, he's always at least imagined how cool it would be to wake up just a few inches longer. Even a lot of already huge guys want bigger ones. And that's why I'm here today, to dispel the myth of the miraculous third leg. This has been a video I've been wanting to make for a while now, because we first had to establish the dating scene, hookup culture, and sex education before I could really dig into this topic. Before we could really discuss this in length. The male belief that bigger is better is just one of those cornerstone problems that could remedy a lot of other problems if itself were fixed. Sure, there's some size kings and queens out there, and a smaller than average wiener is an automatic no. Look, you're an adult, you have your own standards, I can't tell you what to do. But as someone very interested in sex as a concept, the phallus obsession is really limiting you to just boring sex. So here's a short testimony from a man with a little more life experience. Nico Lang is a writer who specializes in the intersection of politics and LGBTQ issues. When asked about the ongoing myth of penis size, this is what he had to say. I feel the same way about a 9-incher than I do an armored tank. They're nice to look at, but if a guy thinks he's parking it in my garage, he's utterly insane. If you're the type of person who will only have sex with guys who are at least 7 inches long, I have some friends that insist upon 9, you are severely depleting your dating pool. Studies show that the average erect penis is between 5.1 and 5.9 inches long, but the actual range in terms of size is all over the place. A sculpture at Iceland's Penis Museum shows the incredible diversity of male phalluses, not just in terms of size, but also girth, circumference. It's an eye-opening and powerful example of why society's big duck fetish simply doesn't measure up. Having just one preference doesn't just set your partners up to fail, it sets you up to fail. To make this even worse, a lot of men still lie about their size, only perpetuating this myth and this problem at large. Because of this, people often don't believe bigger guys when they try to open up about their problems. They'll look for support, and all they receive is backlash because they're complaining about a gift. You don't have the right to complain, etc. If we could all stop worshipping the big dongs and treat it like you've suddenly won at life, I think it would be better for everyone's mental health in general. Also, just a thought, in the duck size video, I got a lot of comments from guys talking about their big dick problems, but not their small dick problems. Does that mean that a lot of these men are lying? Stop fucking lying! Or does it mean that smaller guys are still afraid of that ridicule? It's probably a bit of both, and it's messy. I intend to explain why we should stop pretending that a big duck is the silver bullet everyone seems to think it is. One final thing before we jump in. This video is not speaking from any experience. Or maybe it is. You don't know. I preach open discussions about sex, but at the same time, I recognize the world still has hang-ups about these kinds of things. And something like duck size is a highly personal attribute. That's why I can neither confirm nor deny my own size. Would it be helpful context? Maybe. But no one should ever feel pressured to reveal how big they are. Freedom of expression and privacy are not mutually exclusive concepts. Anyways, this is an intro longer than Pacific Rim, so let's get to the video already. One of the most common problems you hear when you ask about big duck problems is underwear size. A lot of standard fit underwear just doesn't cut it. Whether that be it doesn't hide your bulge enough and you get a lot of unwanted attention, or it's just very uncomfortable without the necessary support to keep your junk in place. Speaking to all of the duck havers out there, we all know that when you put on underwear you have two options, up or down. The boys know what I'm talking about. Which way do you flip? See, the smaller you are, the easier this decision is, because you don't need to worry about it poking out of the waistband if you choose up. Bigger guys will inevitably experience this problem if they do that though. But they also can't choose down because if you get one of those random math class erections, you're gonna have a very noticeable bump. The bigger you are, the higher the stakes in this game, and if you're big enough, neither option seems great. All of this is to say, choosing the right underwear is important for this reason. Speaking of clothes, having a large member limits your fashion in general. Say goodbye to tighter pants, cause it's just not happening. You're sort of forced to wear baggy clothes to hide your junk. And at this point, you might be pointing out that, isn't your size something you want to show off? No, and we'll get to why later on. Hey, remember this guy, Jonah Falcone? I still don't know how to say his name, I apologize. We sort of badmouthed him a little bit in that original video, but he appears in an interview in one of my sources and actually has some pretty decent stuff to say. In fact, his detailed account of his struggles make me inclined to believe that he might not be lying about his size after all, or at least not exaggerating like I assumed he was. So my team Falcon, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. He is still a clout chaser. Him and two other interviewees, Willie Jordan and Todd no last name given, detail some of these big duck problems. Using the restroom is a dicey proposition. In a public urinal, if I'm not careful, my duck will hang down and touch the edge of the urinal, or the water, Todd says. Unfortunately, I'm a germaphobe, and to avoid the same issue, Falcon has resigned to a life of peeing sitting down. Big oof. Now ladies, I don't know if you guys know this, but us dudes tend to love peeing standing up. It's one of the best joys of life, and now I kind of understand the whole duck envy thing. It is very convenient. But it seems that after a certain size threshold, the convenience of doing this in public might not be possible. And that absolutely sucks balls, not being able to afford that luxury. From my research, it also sounds like public swimming pools are off the table. Or at the very least, they're a nightmare. Better hope your swimming trunks don't stick to your legs. Oh wait, they will, because that's how physics works. You think your bulge is noticeable in regular pants? You're very much on display for the entire neighborhood barbecue when you come out of a pool. So you better hope that water's cold, that's all I'll say. And people noticing you in public in general is also a real problem. If you are really that big, your bump becomes harder to hide, and you will get a lot of weird looks and comments from people. Some of these people might think it's funny, and some of them might be secretly jealous for no reason, or even a combination of both of those things. Like, imagine walking up to someone and introducing yourself, and they instantly notice that you're very happy to see them, and they subconsciously hate you now. Like, making friends is already difficult, and now your own duck is getting in the way. One last daily routine issue we need to cover: bike seats. Oh yeah, this is one that I hear brought up a lot, and it must be super painful. Take something as simple as riding a bike. It's a nightmare, Jordan says. Where do I put my thing when I'm on a bike seat? I have to keep my legs closed, but they're constantly rubbing. I end up just sitting on the thing. Ah, ouch. If I want to go for a nice ride in the country, the pain distracts from the euphoria of the journey itself. Okay, dude, you're just riding a bike. You're not on cloud 9 here. So, in any case, it sounds like these dudes are relegated to scooters, which is an F-tier mode of transportation, I'm sorry. All of this, and we haven't even gotten to sex yet. That's just the daily routine. So, contrary to popular belief, a couple extra inches does not fix all your problems. A personal story from my Instagram DMs. I remember when my now wife and I were dating, we were both virgin until marriage. Religious reasons. But after proposing, I felt I needed to tell her what she was getting into. When I told her my size, she actually got mad at me, thinking I was bragging and over-exaggerating. It wasn't until I almost broke out in tears that she knew I was being genuine, and that she seriously needed to consider if she wanted to marry someone like me. The next day, she told me she would measure it out on a broomstick, and she was scared and didn't know if she could do it. Because a big duck sounds really cool until it puts a strain on your engagement. Another problem these guys face is condoms. Now, choosing the right condom deserves an entire video of its own. Trust me, I'm planning it out now. But the long and short of it is, if you're a bigger guy down there in either metric, length, girth, a condom that's too small is going to be very painful. Since more than 90% of guys are smaller than 6.5 inches, condom manufacturers often don't carry sizes for men that are truly that large. You will often find yourself having to hunt them down online and purchase them from some shady website. On top of that, they can be very expensive because they're a rare commodity. And stuff is already so expensive nowadays, you shouldn't have to decide between paying for a nice dinner or ensuring safe sex. Like, that's crazy. When you constantly have to keep one hand on your rubber to make sure it doesn't slip off during sex, as Todd does, it sucks some fun out of the process. Even then, a lot of times the condoms end up breaking or slipping off and staying inside your partner, which, alarm bells, that's not good. And do I even need to say it? Ask around and you'll quickly find that blowjobs are nearly impossible. If you're long and slim, you should be able to make it work somewhat. But if you're bigger in that girth category, as a lot of bigger guys are, that's just how it is usually, then you're gonna get a lot of teeth when you try oral sex. Anything thicker than 5.5 inches or about 14 centimeters for you complainers out there, and you can pretty much forget it. That's too much girth. Don't believe me? Try this. I've already talked to you about the toilet paper tube tactic. If your duck doesn't comfortably fit inside of an empty toilet paper tube, you're considered bigger than average. So do this. Take one of those empty tubes and hold it up to your mouth. As long as it's clean, you can even try and fit it into your mouth. And you'll see how already difficult it is. And that's just for the average. Imagine trying to fit something with another inch of circumference in there. It's nearly impossible without them taking a bite out of your wiener.
Was that 87?
Contrary to the popular belief that bigger is better, having oral, anal, or vaginal sex with someone who has a particularly large member can present real challenges. Not everybody's genitals are immediately compatible when it comes to size and comfort. In fact, some people are even going as far as getting genital matchmaking surgery, which I didn't know was a thing until right now. It's where partners will surgically alter their genitals, both of them, to become the perfect fit for each other. Which, I guess I see the logic in that, but it's also kind of sad that we as a society place that high of an importance on perfect compatibility. It doesn't exist. The variation of size is what makes sex fun, at least I've heard. Quickies are also impossible. A lot of people think that they're just going to be able to handle a bigger duck right off rip, and in reality, you're going to have a bad time. If you have a vagina, it will be difficult. If you don't, buckle up. In either case, you need to be sufficiently relaxed and have some sort of lubrication on hand. This takes a lot of time, and on top of the expensive condoms you already bought, now you gotta go back to the store because you forgot the expensive lube. Doing so without it can really scare your partner. A quote from one of my sources: "It's an emotional gut punch to be turned down by a prospective partner because she's too afraid to even try having sex." Sex now becomes a scheduled activity, and doing it because you're horny in the moment becomes much more difficult. Not that scheduling it isn't a good practice to do, but you can't do it on a whim anymore. So what does happen if you say, screw it, my partner can take it, I'm not taking the precautions? Look, I can't even tell you how many stories I've heard online and in real life of partners crying, bruising, and even going to the hospital because their endowed partner was too rough with them and didn't listen to them when they told them to stop. They hurt them physically. On top of that, next day sex almost never happens for you because your partner is still too sore. So you can forget that. Not only can it be painful for them, but also for the duck haver. In the duck iceberg video, we talked about penile fracture. If your partner on top dismounts too quickly or in the wrong direction, pop goes the weasel. Yeah, an extra inch sounds great until your dick is broken. Lastly, the most obvious problem is that when you're bigger and your partner finds out, it's hard to tell if they're just gonna use you for sex or not. It's a real problem in hookup culture. Do they just want you for your sausage roll? Or do they actually see a relationship with you? You know, for guys and girls in their hoe era, one of the things on their to-do lists is a man with a hog. I want to have sex with a big penis just to see what it's like. You know, how do you think the guy feels about that? He's constantly getting dates, but none of them want to stay because to them, he's only good for his meat and not husband material. That sucks. Like, he's just an experience to you. And again, this is not an exclusively heterosexual issue. I've received a lot of comments about gay men having this problem. Big phallus men are seen as some kind of toy that you can use and throw away, just like a very attractive woman. And we dismiss these issues because, oh, they have a gift, they're having so much fun. No. So if you still believe that a massive duck is what you want, I just don't know what to tell you. It's probably not going to make your life unlivable by any means, but it's certainly not the cure-all that you've been led to believe. But if you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I don't like to end things on like a pessimistic note. The goal of this video is not to say, haha, see, big duck havers, you don't win. Like, that's not the point. Any size can work. You know, if you're a guy watching this video and you're being truthful about your size and you want advice on how to deal with it, I found some actually helpful tips from across the internet, many of which I guarantee you haven't considered yet. So let's start with the underwear problem. I have recommendations for underwear made for guys with packages, and other sex-related tips in general. It's a site created by a man on the much larger side, so it's all very personal, and not just some corporate advertisement. The other daily life-related problems like bike seats and swimming pools, unfortunately don't have easy fixes like this. At least none that I could find. But I did find a lot of solutions for those sex-related problems. The article I'm about to read is very well written, so I'm just going to read it straight out to you. Keep in mind, it's written from the perspective of the writer addressing a woman who was in a heterosexual relationship, and how she can ease herself into it with someone who is much bigger than average. That may be the perspective it's written from, but the advice itself can be applied to anyone of any identity. Position. The discomfort you experience when your partner tries to penetrate you fully may be due to the head of their duck hitting your cervix. You could try different sex positions to help reduce comfort and increase your pleasure, especially positions that allow you to have control over penetration, movement, and speed. For example, being on top. But be careful of the fracture. You need to be careful dismounting. You could also try out different positions for oral sex, such as with your partner lying down, standing up, on his knees, or sitting. One of these angles could make you more comfortable when performing oral sex. Technique. Some people feel more comfortable with partial insertion during oral, anal, and vaginal sex. The undeveloped part of the duck, as well as the scrotum or anus, can be stimulated with fingers, hands, or a vibrator. Oral sex doesn't always have to include taking the duck fully into the mouth or fully into the vagina. Try using your hands on the base of the duck to stroke the part of the shaft that isn't in your mouth. The underside of the glans, typically one of the most sensitive areas. For penetration, you could try the coital alignment technique, or cat position, which involves keeping your legs closer together than you normally would during missionary. The closer your legs are to each other, the less likely he'll go too deep. Lubrication. You don't have to depend solely on your body to get the juices flowing. Using a water-based lube without glycerin or parabens can be a game changer when it comes to painful penetration, either due to a too dry vagina or a too big duck. Friction may cause small tears in your vagina, which can not only be painful, but can also increase the risks for things such as yeast infections, urinary tract infections, and sexually transmitted infections. So stock up on good lube for a smoother ride. This is Candles popping in here to add that if you're worried about financials, you and your partner could make an arrangement where you pay for condoms, they pay for lube, or vice versa. In any case, the great thing about being intimate with someone else is that there are endless possibilities for getting down and dirty. It may just take some time to communicate with your partner and get creative. Doing so will likely lead to more mutually satisfying solutions. Also, remember Jordan? One of the interviewees who was having issues finding a partner that didn't just want him for his duck? Recently, Jordan has instituted a 3-month no-sex rule. I'll tell girls that I want to wait quite a few months before we do it. His intention is to weed out the women who are only there for his member. This can be a good standard to set for yourself if you are particularly large. Before we get to our last article, I'd like to revisit that Instagram comment from earlier about the engagement being in jeopardy once the wife measured it with a broomstick. Don't get me wrong, it's not all a curse. After my wife and I learned to use my member, we have had fantastic relations. Yet they are usually better for her than me because if I lose control, she is bruised for a week. Sometimes she likes that, and it can be a nice explosive finish, and other times it ruins her entire week. I'm glad my love life is fulfilling, but that doesn't mean every day is easy. So this is a guy who learned how to use what he had responsibly. And while he has to be more careful about letting go himself, it sounds like their love life is in a healthy spot because of it. So even after all these problems I've shown you today, this story proves that it's not impossible to make it work. I think the real reason people like me get pissed when someone cares about duck size is not because we're of any other size, but because it makes sex seem super boring and therefore disappointing to us people who have not yet had it. Obsessing over the duck size puts sex on this pedestal, like it's the only thing you're supposed to achieve in life. A girl or guy who will turn you down because of your size is someone who's only interested in having boring sex. There are so many ways to do it, and relegating yourself to just penetration and boom, you're done is boring. Another great quote from Nico. If you've ever perused the Kama Sutra, you know that the missionary position is just one of an endless number of positions available for you to explore. And penetrative sex is the same way. Only 25% of women are able to regularly experience orgasms through the vagina, meaning it doesn't really matter most of the time how big their partner is. In other words, it's not going to get her there without help from everything else. There's a vast array of options available outside of copulation in order to provide the direct clitoral stimulation that sex often does not. More communication is needed in the bedroom nowadays. This is a common problem. It seems as if there's this unspoken rule that two people can't just talk to each other when they start to do this, which is what leads to allegations of assault and pain, along with a host of other problems. More communication ensures not only stronger consent, but it opens the door to a world of more interesting sex. It doesn't have to be boring. And when it comes to size, letting your partner know what you need is an important part of having that great sex. This becomes increasingly important when your lover has a body part that causes you pain. Letting him know what you like, what hurts, what positions are comfortable, and when you're ready for penetration are very important. At this point in the video, you're probably saying to yourself, if I have a big wiener, am I screwed here? Sure, communication is better, but no one wants to communicate when we're in the act. Am I just set up for bad, boring sex the rest of my life? Or sex that hurts my partner? No, because there is a silver bullet to all of this. I said there wasn't in the beginning. The truth is there really is. It's not a big duck. And as a side effect, it's altruistic and helps to mend this ongoing culture and gender war. It's foreplay. Similar to the 3-month rule we talked about earlier, postponing sex for a while will ensure your partner doesn't just want you for your body, and it will also give you time to plan out exactly how it should go down. Sure, a lot of one-night stands don't want to commit to it, but when you find someone who's willing, foreplay is going to make that experience so much more intimate. Here's why it's great for anyone of any size. Foreplay involves taking it slow at first, undressing each other, cuddling, stimulating, everything except skipping right to the dessert. Foreplay will give smaller guys the advantage because they don't need to rely on penetration for pleasure. There's other things you can do. Use your hands, use your mouth. As stated before, orgasm from penetration alone is very rare, and the clitoris, the part of her body with the most potential for pleasure, is not far into the body, and neither is the G-spot. Not only does it help the smaller guys get the job done, foreplay makes penetration easier for bigger guys as well. This is because foreplay gets the body ready for dessert. Typically, it takes a woman's body a little bit longer to get to orgasm than it does for men. So it can help line up the timing so that everyone is satisfied. It will help a woman's clitoris become erect. Her cervix will rise and elongate the vaginal canal, making more room for your member. And she will become more lubricated, which will help make sex less painful. Not to mention, it's more fun that way. And also, in a sense, altruistic. If everyone starts doing this more, sex will take longer, meaning the experience will be harder to commodify, and sex itself will become more special. When guys tell me they wish they had my penis, they look up to me from a sexual alpha male point of view, says Jordan. But what percentage of your life do you spend actually using your penis for sex? Compare that number to how much you have to carry the burden of it around, and the sexual ratio is quite the minority. Duck size is not that important, and it's not the magical solution to our boring sex lives, as much as we'd like it to be. The good news is, this means that anyone of any size can have great sex. Keep an open mind, and also keep communication lines open in the bedroom. And that's all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and no matter what size you are down there, I hope it helped to quell those insecurities for at least a little bit. We've got a Discord server that's constantly evolving and improving, so if you're over the age of 18, you can join us in all the channels over there. And I also have an Instagram, where I post some of my safe for work art. If you have any other questions about my channel, you can watch the AMA or FAQ video I made right here. It should answer any questions you might have. Thank you guys for 30,000 subscribers. Holy shit, that's a huge number. Like the video if you did, subscribe for more, and I love you all. Good night.